I mean, you have to think like their knowledge is purely of like analyzing the game and like talking about what they should be doing. So they know what they should be doing.
Yeah,
It's
dude,
just a
but that
matter of
doesn't matter.
execution.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
like
It's just a matter of execution.
Yeah,
right?
if I could do
know we
everything
need to
I
be
know,
there.
yeah, if I could do everything that I know, I would be top 500, but I can't. Like
I
people
know,
watch
that's what I'm saying,
stream
though.
before,
That's why
they're
they
like,
look more
why
coordinated.
didn't you do this? I'm like, just because I didn't think of it fast
I
enough.
can't.
I just didn't react
Yeah.
fast enough.
I will say
That's just not possible for me.
Mel is right. This was a
Right on the hit. Pulse bomb gets nothing effect. Has that one taken away by Troy Hellman. It seems like this could be.
Hello and welcome to the Overwatch League recap. Dang it, I just psyched myself out there, guys. You see that? I was talking about it right during the intro, and I just messed up the intro. Oh my gosh.
It's okay. We can be the Overwatch League. It's fine.
My gosh, take two. Hello and welcome to the Overwatch League recap, a talk show focusing on the Overwatch League. I am Blazing Bob, and today I'm joined by the usual suspects in I Play Games and Mel. How you two doing?
Hey. I'm still your hello today.
The average bear.
Hey, boo-boo. And for the second time on the show, we have Ryan from the Bird Watchers. Welcome back, brother. It's good to have you. Yeah, it's good times. How have you been?
I've been all right. I've been good. Chilling. I've had some, random stuff happen, like some car issues, but outside of that, hey, I can't complain.
Oh man,
Never
car
fun.
issues are the
Never
worst.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah, you should always try and get those extra warranties. Those things are gold.
Yeah, exactly.
Cars today cost way too much to fix, but no one cares about that. This is an Overwatch League podcast, so we'll start it off by saying thank you to our Patreon producers Shazir and Ridiculous Brent. We also had a new Patreon this week, but I'm not seeing it in the... yes. Akura? Am I saying that right? Aka?
Kua?
Akua?
Akua.
It's not aqua. Aqua's a color.
Well, thank you so much.
There's some different options out there.
Thank you so much
One of
for
us had
becoming
to
a
have
new
got that.
patron.
Yeah, thank you a lot.
All
Very
right.
much appreciated.
And so we're going to start the show off. I mean, it's kind of a light week, guys. We're going to talk news, and we're going to talk the AllStar Game that just finished. So we'll see how long it is, but it's probably going to be a shorter episode, just to let you guys know up front. So moving right in. The International Overwatch League store is now open. Now, I know this is something that at least Europe was really, really wanting because of all of the, charges you have to incur when ordering something overseas. So that is now open. Did you guys catch who is actually making the jerseys? Are they different from the ones we get here?
They're the same jerseys that we're getting here. It's basically the same stuff that you get from the store, but a more limited amount. But now you can order it internationally. So if you're in Europe or you're in Asia, you can order from this store. And I think that right now you get all of the jerseys for all of the teams, both home and away, and a couple other things, but it's very limited. You can't get a lot of the merch that we can get over here. And I'm pretty sure that the shipping is still pretty high, but it might still be lower than it is if you're just shipping directly from across seas. So
I will tell you, I tried to ship a book. We sold a book and I tried to ship it to Europe and it was $58. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
no?
Shipping stuff overseas is not cheap at all.
Yeah, funny story about that. We did the pick'ems, and we learned a really hard lesson that when we do a contest, we need to say NA only, because it was a arm and a leg to ship that sweatshirt out. And I even took the cheapest route, and it still costs more than the sweatshirt costs. So enjoy that
Lesson learned.
sweatshirt. Yeah, but lesson learned. Anything we do going forward, if it's not digital, it's gonna have to be NA only, because that was a rough time.
I was gonna say, that being said, though, it goes to show how much interest there is outside of the US for this kind of merchandise, that Blizzard has decided to take the initiative to open this up, to make this available. And I mean, we all know the buying power of China right now. Like, those guys love those teams. They want the merch. They love the novelty. They love all the stuff that is coming from the Overwatch League. And I bet like that's one of the main reasons why they're opening this up, because it's a huge money making opportunity over here. And for the people living over there, that there's no access to it there. There's no local shop that is selling, Shanghai Dragon shirts or anything. I bet there's a ton of them who would be willing to pay that price to get it shipped over.
I feel like when Fanatics took over the merchandise for Overwatch League, I feel like that was one of the big selling points, though, that they were going to sell internationally, right?
Yeah.
So, like, what happened there? Did it just not, like, I obviously didn't keep up with it because I don't live internationally. So, like, I just heard it at the beginning and thought it was a thing. But, like, they sell other things internationally, don't they?
Not that I knew of before. And I thought the same thing as you. I thought it would be available day one, and I just took it for granted that it was already available until I saw this story.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing to me, right? Because as we move into season 3 and everybody's talking, or at least the league's very talking about, home games and showing support at home and trying to get the international side out there is like, oh, we're the first league to be bringing games to home teams internationally. The fact that they can't even get merch there in a timely manner, because think about all the Fanatics shenanigans that have gone on while they didn't have EU and shipping overseas, right? Without ridiculous prices. So you have all this kind of bad press on the Fnatic side, and you're not shipping out there or making it easily accessible. That's just a bad rap. So at this point, to be like, hey, we got it now. You remember we promised? Like, and it's like probably a little bit too late. And I can see the response being not that heavy. Like, they might not get a lot of sales and it might not justify it, and they may read that the wrong way. As, oh, I guess they didn't want it. It's like, no, there's so much more there than just this.
I
don't know.
still am gonna have to side with iPlay. I think China's gonna get some
Oh, yeah.
massive orders in.
They would just make their own if they didn't.
Yeah,
To be
yeah. I mean,
honest.
True.
you could. It'd be kind of. It's probably kind of like New York City, where you could get pretty much anything made within like 20 minutes
Oh,
or
yeah.
so. Yeah, I wish I would have known that when I was there, because I would have had like custom hats made. Because
I would like
most
a wardrobe of
the
like all knockoff gear. Like,
yeah,
that would
well, I
be
mean,
kinda cool.
most
At
of
that point, it
the
becomes like a statement. You know what I mean?
yeah.
This guy's not just wearing knockoff gear. Like, he
Yeah.
is.
Backwards Nike checks on everything.
yeah, I mean, like most of the
Backwards Nike
Overwatch
check.
League hats are like the flat bill, and I've tried, I just can't pull off the flat bill. I've got 3 of them right there that I just can't wear because it just doesn't work. And if you bend them, they're shaped differently, so they actually
Oh,
like
yeah.
come way down when you bend them. Like, you have to have
Yeah.
ones that are actually straight and then curve. And they had some at the Dallas home game. Mel's wearing one of them, but they ran out of
Yeah, I like that one.
Dallas quickly, so I couldn't even get that. I was bummed.
Why don't you just get a Houston one?
Yeah. I almost got an Overwatch League one, but not Houston. But yep, that's
hate.
available now. You guys order your stuff up. Everybody's been complaining, but my jersey, it's a custom jersey. I don't know if that meant anything different. It was definitely more expensive, but it's been good. And a lot of people said,
The
like, wash
quality
it
is
once.
poor.
But like, just don't wash jerseys. Like, that's like dry clean only. Like, I know it says you can
I
wash it.
disagree
but
with the. Please, before you go to your next game, please wash your jersey.
dry
This
clean
is like
your
a
jersey.
really poor
Dry
choice.
clean. Dry clean.
Cold water on delicate and then hand
Right.
dry.
You're
Okay,
right.
and if you
Like,
do
come
that, do
on.
it like just solo with just
Yeah.
that in there. But yeah, like,
All I'm
you have
saying
to
is
be
the
delicate
quality
with
is
any jersey.
definitely. the quality is definitely not as good as, like, say, the Fusion jersey that you have from the finals. Like, that
Yeah, that's
quality of
interesting because I
jersey,
think it was the same people that made it, but I'm not.
I don't
I'm
think
not
That
sure.
was for
Fanatics made
finals.
that.
It was like limited edition finals
Yeah.
jersey.
Yeah, it's like super nice material. That's like the best jersey that I've gotten. But either way, get them. You have the option now. So the Overwatch League hits record viewership. Mel, do you want to cover this one? I think it was
No.
like 500,000 viewers on TV.
Sheesh.
Yeah,
Power
it.
TV.
See, I thought you were gonna throw the next one to me, but fine, I'll take this one. Um, yeah, it was like 545,000, and the first match of the semifinals and the finals match between the Shock and Titans were on ABC, and they set the best performing esports broadcast across the network there. So
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think
so this isn't that horrible, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
even though it's not like the greatest numbers for TV ever, you know what I mean? It's still on average doing better than most of the other programming that is happening. So, I mean, that sends a message at least to the network, right? Like, we
yeah.
should
It'd
maybe
be-
Yeah,
consider this because it's definitely getting more audience than the rest of our stuff, right?
Well, some of the ball drops though on those TV things, like unfortunately, the ABC broadcast ended quite a bit before the actual stage 2 finals match ended, and that's kind of a
Yeah.
bummer.
Because they probably have a set amount of time they have for it. And unfortunately, Overwatch games, one, are super long. And two, you can never know for how long they're going to go, right? It's not like other sporting events like soccer, you know how long you're going to go. You know, football, you know how long you're going to go. Baseball is kind of like the only one out there who sometimes maybe goes a little longer than you think. But
I mean, there's a
aside
lot of
from that,
times where football goes a lot longer and then your shows like don't record at the right time. Like it's a big bummer. But football's also an established sport,
Yeah.
right?
right.
So like Overwatch is coming in as the newbie and they're booking a time block. They're not booking the viewership isn't high enough yet to say if it runs over, you still put it on. Also, they don't have a good start time, which I think is to their detriment, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's based on the last game's end time is when they start. So you can't really schedule around like, hey, sometime around 8
Well, but the
ish
final
or
game
9
though
or
on
10 or 11.
Sunday
Well,
was
I
one
thought they do
game.
it when they. I thought when they do it when they start the broadcast, and then they end it just whenever. The
Yes,
chunk
they
ends.
do. But the final day that I'm talking about is there was just one game.
Okay. But still, I
So-
just don't think it's pulling the viewers to get the
Oh yeah,
extended
there's
airtime.
definitely no wiggle room there, and I think it's kind of on the league, at least at the beginning, to cut fat, right? So like there should be producers at the ready to say, okay, well, we're running behind. Let's cut this interview. Let's see if we can cut a commercial or two that's not, related to like a big sponsor. Like if they're just advertising, I don't know, tokens or skins, like cut that. Little things like there where I think you can make a tweak, like a lot of pre-roll. I think would help them save that little bit of time, at least in the beginning, right? As it's more unexpected. 'Cause I think as we play more games, they're getting more data on like the average time slot so they can adjust because they definitely have adjusted since last year, right? It's a lot better.
It's
schedule
a lot
closer to
better.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned that, they're getting super efficient about doing the transitions and not
Yeah.
going to the desk every time, just having like the analyst like right there on the floor. It's definitely more agile on the broadcast, but it's still
Exactly.
slow
Smoother.
in comparison with other broadcasts, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. And even like talk over. So I've always wondered if when they go to the main desk before they get people set up and they start again, before you even bring the shoutcasters on as they're setting up, you can continue the desk talk, right? Like you can have Zoe saying whatever, have predictions going in the background, and have that audio while they're picking characters, and then bring the cast like little things like that.
Oh,
that
that's a
I
really
mean,
good idea.
yeah, you have to be, but that also requires that you have the system in place. Like Andrea said, he used a great word, agile, right? Like you have to have it in place to be able to make those quick shifts, and they might not. But it's an idea, right, to try to make sure that you don't have those kind of things go wrong because you need it to go well. The game's what matters the
Right.
most on national TV. So
Well, and I
will
think they
say
introduced
that
I think they introduced the players though, and that's why they do the
Yeah.
casters, right?
Oh,
Which
yeah,
they
yeah.
could do that. The casters could do, or the desk could do that instead of the casters, right?
Yeah.
Like, or something like that. But yeah,
Have the banter while they're coming out, kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that one thing that I did notice that they did really well, and I think maybe they should do it all the time and not just during the ABC broadcasts, is the casters did a really good job of completely explaining what was going on in certain situations, and like even like small little bits, like just explaining how Zarya works and her bubble mechanics, and I thought that was really cool.
I
Yeah,
think
you
they've
can
done a
definitely tell
better
that they
job
got
with that all
told.
year.
Yeah, like, hey, try to be more accessible to newer audiences because they're trying to reach out to new audiences on TV, especially, right?
Yep. But those big numbers probably led to the next story we're going to talk about. Halo of Thoughts put out a report that claims, and we're pretty sure it's right now. We haven't gotten complete, like Jeff coming out and saying it,
Official.
or Nate coming out and saying it, but we're pretty sure. He reported that 222 roll lock will not be coming for stage 3. This pissed me off. I mean, I was more active on Twitter than I had been for like the whole month prior. I was just arguing with everybody. I was so angry because this was on the table. This was in talks, and this was very possibly coming on. Like, there was multiple accounts, Jeff, Monte Cristo, tons of people like hinting at it, and then nothing. And I was so mad. I've gotten better now. I've relaxed some, but I was pretty upset because I feel 222 should have been in the game before the Overwatch League even started. Like, we would have had a much better comp experience overall, and it just would have been a better game. Like, but oh, what did you guys think? Because it just gets me hot every time I start
burns
talking
you
about
out.
it. Yeah.
I kind of wonder. So you remember when we had that big patch where they were trying to kind of kill goats and bring other comps back, right? There was a lot of pushback about how fast they were going to roll that out until everyone was like, "We really want this," and then they decided to push it before the stage began, right? Stage 2. So I wonder if there's enough push, or maybe it's just outside of the development capability and the time frame where they just really can't do it.
It's not. It's already in custom games. It's
Yeah.
already an option you can turn
Yeah.
on. Current,
So
on
to be
that-
current,
honest,
not
they
even
could
on
just tell
PTR.
them.
Yeah.
They could just tell them, like, hey, 222, we're
Yeah.
not going to put in a mode that locks it, but I'm locking it for you. If you break the rules, you're out. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly. If they really want to do it, they could do it. This is just one of those things of really pushing back against the fan base. I can't really say what percent versus what percent wants it versus doesn't care kind of thing. Because a lot of people are pushing more for character changes, which, currently there's nothing in PTR, right? Like that's weird. Where there's no big character thing sitting there. So people are like, well, if you're not going to do 222, then where are the character changes? If you're not doing character changes, are you going to do nothing? Because not everybody's happy. And then there's this whole contenders things, which I think we'll get into probably a little bit later.
well,
which
I
have
mean,
a bit
come
to
on,
say about
Ryan.
that.
You can't try to make the internet happy. Like,
I know, right?
I will
let's be
say,
real here.
I will say, of the players we've interviewed, it's been about half and half that
Yeah.
wanted the 222 or didn't want it. And I don't think we had any player that said they don't care. They were either
Everybody chose
hardcore
it.
on 222 or hardcore no. And it seemed like a lot of the Koreans were more like no, and a lot of the Westerners were more like yes.
Huh.
Just
I'd like to see the
recalling.
percentages broken down of like DPS saying yes and tanks and healers saying no. Like,
I will
You're
say
like, "This is
Crystal
my
said
moment."
no. I will say Crystal said no. That's the last one that I put out.
Yeah, but Crystal's also on the Spark where they do play DPS.
Yeah.
True.
He's like,
So
nah,
he's
this
probably like,
is
it doesn't
good.
change anything for us. Yeah.
Yeah, we're killing it. Like, whatever. I don't know. I mean, I think we never got official confirmation that 222 was going to come. We had a lot of hints that it was probably going to come, but we never had anybody say it was, just like we haven't had anybody say it wasn't. And I don't think they think there's a reason to come out and officially say it's not coming because they never officially said it was coming. right?
True.
So like,
True.
why?
For sure.
Good
But I think
point.
the video at the end of Watchpoint at the All Stars game told me that it's definitely not coming.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it is coming. I think they would have announced it by now if it was.
Yeah.
And I don't think it is coming. I'm disappointed because I think it would have been really cool. But like I said on the whatever it was roundtable, is I think that honestly they like the viewership that they're getting right now and they've got a lot of casual fans. And I think that they're nervous if they change the meta that much that people won't be able to follow it. Like, yes, they will eventually, but in the middle of a season, changing that with having the casual fan base coming on with ABC and Disney XD, like, I think they're worried about that affecting those numbers.
I just think they're wrong. But I play you were gonna say something?
Yeah. I'm more in Mel's camp, the more unfun camp of like I just didn't see this happening like this. I've said it before, like if they're gonna do 2-2 changes, I just don't see it happening this season of the league, or maybe towards the end. But even that, like you're gonna play the entire season on this meta, and at the very end change it for the playoffs or the finals, like that is terrible for like the competitive integrity of the league, right? You've had these players and these teams practicing hours upon hours, coming up with the best strategies. Some of them which have truly cracked down the meta, like San Francisco Shock and Vancouver Titans, and are playing the best game that they've ever played in their lives right now. So
Devil's advocate to that, though, Andres, like, think about this. Like, most teams go in thinking there will be at some point a major meta shift, right? So if you play all year on goats, like the entire season on goats, like how fair is that to the teams that like there's always been meta shifts in Overwatch, right?
But that's not to say that there won't be a meta shift, right? Like sometimes when we just let things be for a while, there are changes and there are iterations over time because everyone eventually gets to that certain level plateau of play and things keep evolving at a slower pace given that, but it doesn't mean that there won't be innovation. That being said, I'm not opposed to 222, and I think that is a very real possibility that it'll come. I just don't Blizzard realize, and I think that is a very short-sighted change to just be like, you know what, guys, the fans are right. Listen to the internet. 222 right now, Apex Legends style. We're just dropping a new game immediately on this league. I don't
It
know. It
gives
just
the fans too much power, right? Blizzard's like, no, no,
Yeah.
no, we can't do that. They're gonna think they can get anything they cry for now. Like, we can't do that.
Plus,
So
it's a change with no basis. Sorry, Ryan.
no,
I was
you're
gonna
good.
say
You're
that
good. You're good.
the last thing here is a change with no basis, right? Like everything is speculation. Like 222, that's what Overwatch needs,
Yeah.
right? But we've never been there. What if we do get to 222 and then we realize, you know what, guys? Not 222 was a little bit funner, right? And we still have places like South Korea that have embraced the freeness of that kind of game, right?
Mhm.
And they haven't had as much of a problem, organizing themselves into tanks and healers and DPS, eventually developing even metas like this one. So I don't know.
It
There's a lot to digest there.
so this kind of bleeds into something recent, which is all the stuff, and we'll probably get to it later. All the stuff that's been happening in contenders, right? And things with contenders viewership and trying to pump that. So in
Clockwork
my
Vendetta. Well,
yeah,
that's not contenders, but they made it into contenders. One
exactly.
tricking Torb, and oh my gosh.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like, why not implement it there, right? Like you're trying to build contenders viewership. And I think part of the problem that's happening is regardless of how you feel about goats, there's so much of it that when you're watching goats throughout the week, you're watching those 4 days of games, right? And then you have contenders going on at the same time and they're playing goats. And it's like you want to, that's a lot of goats. All right. So it doesn't matter how much you love watching Overwatch, sometimes that kind of gets a little much. So
Is
while
Contenders playing goats right now, though?
There's
in
a
contenders,
lot of non-goats throughout
oh,
contenders right now. Lots of bunker though.
yeah, there's some
I
bug,
I
but they're
don't
playing some
watch
of the other
it,
comp.
so
Oh,
I
okay,
don't know.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
I
they
was
try to
asking.
run it not at the level. Yeah, they try to run it not at the level that you're seeing in the Overwatch League, right? Where it's so refined. But even there, like, say, why don't we throw 222 in a season? Because they have what 3 contender seasons a year. We'll throw it into one of those seasons and see how it works, and then say, okay, well, let's bring that up. And maybe that might, I don't know, ruffle people's feathers a bit, but it's one of those things where you have to do something because a whole like even thinking about a whole nother year of goats, like I can only like it so much, and I don't know. It's gonna wear on me. Even though it's a lot of change, like you said, it could throw players off. But that's part of the nature of the game, right? In esports, and that's what makes it different. Is the fact that it's an ever changing environment. Yeah, it shouldn't be reckless, but it is something that should always be expected, and that's what teams should be building for as far as roster. It shouldn't just be these 6 guys on the stage and then everybody else is just fodder for trades. Facilitate yourself for changes so you can slot people in. I mean, you're a team, right? It's not 6 guys and then the other guys. I don't know. There's a lot there.
All
Well,
I
it's definitely not
know,
like that on the Outlaws. I mean, it's like 12 guys just interchanging sporadically.
the Outlaws
They're
put out
there.
a tweet right after the Halo report surfaced. A tweet saying, "Hey, if we get 10,000 retweets, Jeff says he'll implement 222 in
I think it was
in
100,000, but yeah.
no 10,000. I mean I've got it saved,
Oh.
but he said if we get 10,000 retweets, Jeff will implement 222 in stage 3. It had 210 within minutes, and the Outlaws deleted it shortly after. I'm guessing they got a call from the league offices, and
Nate's
and
like, no.
he's like, "What are you doing?" But yeah, I
cut
thought
that
that was
off, cut that off.
hilarious.
Cut his mic.
Listen, as an Outlaws fan, you can see why I'm so depressed that 222 is not coming to stage 3. Like, I'm just going to be completely biased here. But yeah, it would have helped my team. Probably not, though. Like, we probably would have found another hero that we couldn't play in that stage and failed miserably, but it's fine.
Well,
I like
I'm
the return of a
hoping.
lot of comps. So, I mean, like you said, there's bunker comps. You're seeing snipers again. You're seeing like even Atlanta Reign, busting out Hanzo a lot more than other teams to bust through bunker comps and through shields for 333 and trying to mix it up. And you see the far play, and I know that it's back. It's just I think that because we had such a long time with goats, even it being still prominent, it is the most prominent right now, in my opinion. Even though we do have more stuff returning, but I don't know, man. This is a tough spot because, like you said, if you give power to the fans, they'll abuse it, especially the internet. So,
Well, I don't know, but all I do know is it makes me mad. I was trying to do the goat in with mad, but I messed it up. Boy, I'm having a good day today, guys. All right, Mel,
Crushing it.
why don't you take us to the next topic?
Oh, gosh. Did you give this to me because I'm a girl?
I did.
I feel like that's
Is there something wrong with that?
sexist.
No.
Yeah, you're sexist.
I don't think it's sexist at all. I think it's, happy.
I'm just kidding. So, Guri was named as one of Time's 2019 Next Generation Leaders, which is super cool. I mean, Times is like a really huge magazine, and I think they have these different categories of top 10 bachelors and things like that, but they also have Next Generation Leaders, which I didn't even know existed, but now I do. And Guri is one of them, and I just think it's cool. She's the only woman in the Overwatch League. Yeah, she's not getting a lot of playtime right now, but neither is Pine or Lynx or Sabiobi. Okay, so shut up, everybody. And I think she's made a name for herself as the first female player, and I think she's gained a lot of traction from that. And she's even said things like, I think there's a lot of people that look up to me now, and so I'm just trying to be better.
That's so cute.
I
Talk
know,
about
she's
embracing
just
it, though.
adorable.
Yeah, and it's I feel like there's so much pressure there on her, and she's handling it a lot better than players who probably don't even have that much pressure, who just can't
Right.
even handle playing competitively, right? So not only playing competitively, being on a team that went through a lot of adversity in the first season, having a lot of focus on you, and her fan base seems to be very supportive, which most of them are sometimes toxic, depending on whose fan base you're looking at. So for her to be uplifted by that and to not get buried under that pressure, props to her. She deserves it. It's always great to see her on camera, always smiling, always positive.
Way to go, Guri.
Yeah, there you go.
Woo, Guri.
That's why you snapped her up in fantasy, right?
I
Yes,
totally
what's
did.
going
I
on for
totally
you?
did. But I've since dropped her because she doesn't she doesn't play much now.
Well, yeah, you gotta get the points though.
Plus, the thing about her is she was representing like a culture like that doesn't have that many representatives in the spotlight, especially women, right? And she's doing it in a industry that's usually been dominated by men. Esports have been just dominated by men, and she's she's an example, right, for any of these people, any of these girls, coming from those cultures, coming from that place, to be like, hey, if she can do it, I can probably do it.
Yeah.
Right?
She doesn't even show her boobs. Like, come on. High five on that one.
Oh, throwing shade at the Twitch streamers.
I did not. I was just giving her props.
Sorry, Amaranth. So
I did not name names. You named names.
well, you just said boobs, so that was the first one that came to mind. So
downhill quickly.
So Florida continues on their wild trip of weird stuff.
Man.
They signed Flex Healer Byram, and they also their academy team drops out of contenders. What do you guys think of this? I don't know much about Byram.
I don't know too much about Byram. What I heard is that the academy team does want to take a break. They did lose two of their main players, with Fact Fiction joining the league, and one other players I'm like blanking out on his name right now, but two of them are joining the league right now. So they basically lost two of their main players, and I think they're kind of lost into like, can we even go into next season, like this? It also seems like the Mayhem organization doesn't provide the best support out there for these teams. Like it has the league and the team in the league, sorry, and then contenders, but this team's kind of seem a little strapped on resources usually. So it wouldn't surprise me if like there's been some cutbacks. They're not immediately trying to replace the players, and they just need some time off to see if they can even make this happen.
I'm assuming
Well,
Bare
Shaxx was
Hands
the
is
second
driving
one
the
just
bus
now.
now, so probably cutting costs there. Like
What's the future?
Like
the
Bare
bus is
Hands
driving
probably.
itself.
Yeah,
Oh
right?
yeah, I like it.
Look
Sorry,
forward.
Mel, you were saying something.
I was just saying Shaxx was the second person. So Shaxx and Fact Fiction were both on Mayhem Academy, and they both got traded to Valiant. But I think it's interesting. There's a lot of controversy on Twitter right now, at least on my Twitter, about the like inability for the tier 2 scene to grow if AL teams are dropping their tier 2 what do they call them? Academy teams.
Academy teams. Yep.
Right. So I think there's some of that. I don't know how much weight that holds. I mean, even if Outlaws had an academy team, I don't know that I'd watch the Academy Outlaws team play either. There's just a lot of Overwatch League to watch. I think if they did contenders in the off season of OWL, I'd watch it a lot more. But I think
they did. I mean, they did the last time, but we were just Overwatched
guess
out.
Not.
Yeah,
guess I won't watch it more.
Yeah, we had to catch up on the mountain of shows, that we couldn't watch during the season. And
I don't know though.
I just the games too. It still feels like a lot.
There's more teams too though, so it's still like technically I think about the same amount of games for us. It's just half the games for the teams, right? Because they added 6 teams, right?
They added 8.
8.
Yeah. From season 1 to season 2.
Quite a few teams.
Yeah, so they like almost added just as many as they had. But I don't know. I think them adding their healer, Flex Healer Byram, like fine, whatever. You're getting this full Korean roster. What I do want to say is, didn't they add Thibbledork as their social media manager?
As their assistant, or I forget what the wording was, but it was like, junior social media coordinator. And congrats to Thibbledork, aka Siegel, man. Good job. I was talking to him today. He's packing and moving right now.
There we go.
Oh, nice.
Good job, Thibbledork.
But yeah, it's the Byron pickup is weird, right? He comes from NRG, who hasn't really had any big standout in contenders, really, like ever. They've just kind of always been there, and it's a name that and that most people, like a household name, NRG, right? So that once again is one of those Florida moves that you don't understand, right? You have no insight into what's going on. And then outside
And
of
it's not like
that,
they've proven themselves like Boston. Like when Boston picks up a new person,
yeah,
you're like, oh, okay, they're probably really
Yeah, that
good,
makes
right?
sense.
Like,
yeah. But no, this pick is weird. And then you have the dropping of the team, the contenders team, which looks like it's starting to catch on as a thing for, I don't know if it's financial reasons, since finances have come up a lot more in the last couple weeks as far as teams that are struggling with that. So maybe
Well, I
that's the
mean,
case.
Mayhem struggled all last year with it, like
Yeah.
low budget.
Yeah. And that's a
how much
case
is
of
their academy team costing them? Like, let's be honest.
I mean, I
Yeah.
have no clue. I
Yeah.
can't say. I have
Yeah,
no
we don't
clue what
know.
that costs.
But the poor management seems to be a big play in a lot of the teams that are struggling with this stuff. And that's going to happen in any team. I mean, you look at Cleveland Browns, you look at any Jaguars for the longest. Like teams that are mismanaged are never going to have an easy time with the small things. Like outside of playing the game, everything off field is a nightmare, and then things fall apart and decisions get made that don't make sense. And a lot of the times, if it doesn't make sense, it's because it's not making sense. There's no money, so that's why these things happen. So I don't know. I wish we had more information on, like, more visibility into this stuff. Like in sports,
I mean,
traditional sports, you get a lot of
if it's
breakdown.
poor management,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna put visibility on that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You're gonna
Well,
try to keep that on
But we do
lockdown as much
have
as you can.
we do have a lot more visibility in sports, but usually those are because of collective bargaining agreements
yeah,
that we don't have a players union. Like usually the
Yeah, I was
yeah,
gonna
players
say that the
ask for
players.
something, then the league says, "Well, if we're going to do that, you need to do this," and then that's how you get all that openness.
hmm
Or you could just have dumb like openness where you're like, Custa has a big brain.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Mel's
so
gotta
smart.
let that one go.
Ever.
That was weird.
Ever.
The
It's like
mayhem
saying
is in total mayhem, so let's move on to the AllStar game or AllStar games. So we had the talent takedown. We had the Widowmaker 1v1. We had the AllStar arcade. We had which consisted of the sibling rivalry, which was 3 Hanzos, 3 Genjis. Healers Never Die, which was all only supports. Keep the Peace, which was only DPS, and then Thanks but No Tanks, which was all McCree. No, those are swapped. Like you didn't put them in order. So Keeping the Peace was the McCree, and Thanks but No Tanks was all DPS. We had the AllStar game, and the bonus in the middle. We'll talk about after we talk about the Widowmaker. So
It's a
why
bonus
don't we
match.
start with the talent takedown? I thought this was awesome. I thought that the walkouts were the only thing that they did not improve on this year. The walkouts were kind of weak compared to last year. Although Monty's outfit definitely threw me off, and I think it threw off Doa pretty bad too, because he kept like trying to look at him and laughing and not being able to look at him. But what did you guys think of the talent takedown? Monty.
Monty. I thought it was great. It's always the highlight. Like they're fantastic. I love the trash talk. I think that they're hilarious. I love the Puckett and Zoe one again, just because it's funny that those two win, and I really don't think they carry in the slightest, but like they're super confident, so it's okay.
What'd you guys think?
Yeah,
I thought it was super cool. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Last year it was pretty fun and I enjoyed it, but I don't know why this year I actually like really enjoyed it. Like Kristen, my girlfriend, can attest because I was on the screen just laughing at the screen and like calling her like, "You gotta check this out! You gotta check this out!" And I don't know. It goes to show that Overwatch League is just not the best of the best, highest competition at all times, right? Like at the end of the day, Overwatch League is a show, and you don't necessarily have to have the best of the best playing as long as you have a good show, which I think is something that some of the teams should take a note of, right?
Yep.
Yeah, why do you think we want to watch Chengdu Hunters?
Like, yeah,
They
they
put
just
on a
want to
show.
see. yeah, if you put on a show, whether it be through your play or through your personality, even outside of the game, right? Like some of the players that are like interacting outside, and some of the players in the All Stars got to actually have some pretty honest interactions with one another on stage, which I thought was super cool. Like having the Widowmaker duels with like
Well,
the people right
hold
behind
on.
them.
We're talking about the
Oh,
talent
okay, okay.
takedown, though.
I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. They did a fantastic job too, though, because they're show people, right? Like they know how to talk to each other, they know how to banter, and they went all in on it. Like
Oh,
the
they killed
interview,
it.
yeah, the interview when they were kind of like trash talking each other right before the game, I thought that was spot on. They
Yeah.
were throwing some serious burns at each other.
And the birth of the Widowmaker. I think last year was the birth of the Brenji, and the Widowmaker definitely looked good. I was really surprised when that
No, it
happened.
did.
Ryan, though, you haven't got to chime in.
Yeah, I mean, no, you guys have all said it, right? It's like they had the like that's the cool thing about that talent pool they have for the casters and everything in the desk. They they had the chemistry from the beginning. They're good at what they do, and they've only built on that over the year, right? And it seems like they're figuring out, their sweet spot for it's almost like sketch comedy, sort of, right? Like it's like they found
Yeah.
their improv.
Yeah, it was like
sweet spot.
WWE.
Yeah, and it's like that's really well done because I'm sure a lot of that isn't purely scripted. Like they have to go off the cuff a bunch.
Oh,
So
for
they did
sure.
well, and it's enjoyable because you're hanging out because for the All-Star games, we usually watch it with friends and whatever. So you're drinking, you're having a good time, and you see them having a good time, and it just kind of feeds like a feedback loop. So even though it's not like Andrea said, a serious game going on, it's entertaining, it's fun, and it's lighthearted, and it reminds you that this is still a game.
Well,
Right?
and
Listen,
So,
that
something
was the
else you
most
should think about,
serious
though.
game of the All-Star weekend.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
It
That
was
was the
one
most
of the
try-hard
most
game that they
entertaining.
did.
But I mean, you
No,
have
that
to
was
think.
try-hard.
Okay, you have to think though. We got to see on stage what the majority of people see in game. It was players that are gold, plat, and some of them have graced diamond, but they're not diamond players. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so,
I
it's
believe
what
Mr.
everybody
X
plays.
player.
No, you're thinking about Hex. Grams has definitely been in Masters for multiple seasons. He's not now, but he definitely has before.
Well, I think it's funny
They
if
were
you
much
listen to
more
their
coordinated
comms.
than the average competitive game. I will say
Yeah.
that. Though.
Not the
Like, that-
not
that
the
leaves
average
you-
platinum six deck though. I mean I think like they were about as coordinated as the average gold or platinum six deck.
I mean,
But-
you have to think like their knowledge is purely of like analyzing the game and like talking about what they should be doing. So they know what they should be doing.
Yeah,
It's
dude,
just a
but that
matter of
doesn't matter.
execution.
Just
Yeah, I mean
right?
like
It's just a matter of
mechanically do it.
execution.
Yeah,
right?
if I could do
know we
everything
need to
I
be
know,
there.
yeah, if I could do everything that I know, I would be top 500, but I can't. Like
I
people
know,
have watched
that's what I'm saying,
stream
though.
before,
That's why
they're
they
like,
look more
why
coordinated."
didn't you do this? I'm like, just because I didn't think of it fast
I
enough.
can't.
I just didn't react
Yeah.
fast enough.
I will say
That's
I will
that's
say,
just not
though,
possible for me.
Mel is right. This was the most try-hard game in the entire All Stars, and what did I tell you? The cast was really gonna like try to go against the other people. Bren had like a freaking training session. He admitted that he had been training like Widow duels nonstop.
Like
before
2
the game
hours
started.
before.
No, not 2
Bad.
hours before, like 2 hours a day for like a few days before.
Well, and the casters that
gym.
they had was
Paid out.
Golden Boy, Super, and Dogman. And Dogman was great. He's always great, but I thought Super killed it,
marketable,
dude.
man.
Super
Yeah.
sounded
Shout out
like
to
a
Golden
caster.
Boy.
It was great.
Shout out to
Super-
Golden Boy though. It was like a take back, right? Like
Oh
I
yeah,
love Golden Boy.
He's always great, man.
Super
All right.
and Dogman were throwing shade at the players too.
Oh,
Like
it's
when
great.
they did like a mess up or something, Super would be like, I've never seen that in my life. I have no idea why they would choose to do that.
He'd be like, "Yeah, well, I saw him scrimming, and I wasn't impressed with so and so with scrims." And I mean, it was
That's
hell.
just not impressing me right now.
He was basically doing everything that's been done to him to them, and it was so
Yeah.
much fun for him. And you saw that.
Payback.
Oh man,
Yeah.
it was super great, is what it was. But why don't you tell us about the Widowmaker 1v1? Because I think you have a lot you want to say.
Oh, my favorite part of the entire All Stars for sure. One, like this kind of like duel, the 1v1 tourney, I think is the one that works the best out of all the other mini games. Like the other ones are kind of fun, but this one actually gets like a little bit serious, right? To the point where like you get people in their seats kind of like clutching their cheeks a little bit.
Because it's so sudden, right? It's like
yeah.
oh ah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And I was gonna say that one of the best parts about this one in particular was that the other players could be behind the players, and it showed so much emotion. Like just watching these players kind of psych themselves out and freak out, and then having everyone else like, "Oh no, calm down, man, calm down. We got you. We're right behind you."
That was
Watching
the biggest
Jonak
part, right?
super pressed.
Yeah, watching Bumper do his little hand clap. He was so excited. And I mean,
Hey,
that made
the
it,
Ryu
right?
Jaehong, the Ryu Jaehong soccer
absolutely.
mom in the
It's all
background,
clap,
like yeah,
Well, I mean,
Dude,
like,
it was
but that
glorious.
but that made it because last
Yeah.
year it was a bunch of straight-faced, try-harding, really like no emotion, looking at the monitor. I mean I don't know if that was scripted or if someone just decided to do it.
Yeah.
You know, at the start, and then it just caught on because
It was a good call.
yeah, however it happened, it was
It seems
really
like it
cool.
happened organically.
Yeah, I
They
think it
didn't
did.
tell them no, because I mean, it was good. It was awesome watching them there.
It
Right.
reminds me of like, like old school rap battles type situation where you have one posse versus another posse and you have two people
Yeah.
going at it and their whole crew's behind them, hyping them up. Like everybody's a hype man. And then even you look at like, do you remember like the Yo Mama joke shows and stuff like that? Where they do the same
Yep.
concept where it's like, okay, you pick a guy, and everybody had their like that whole concept of kind of the hype man, the
Mhm.
hype men and women or whatever it's good because it kind of gives you a view of, I don't know, like it's teamwork, right? It's like, hey, we're all here for you. Let's do this. So even if he shoots you or gets you this time, it's like, oh, he got me. We'll get him next time. We'll get him next time. Everybody's riling him up. It's just like a competitive basic thing that they figured out, and it worked.
Poor Pine,
I
though.
will say the only
Poor
person
Pine
that
went
looked
up with two NYXL players, and every time, like they were behind Jonak the first time, they
Yep.
were behind Nene the second time, and I contend that it's because Pine sits too close to his monitor and you couldn't see anybody behind him anyways. So they're like, forget that. Like, I'm going to the camera that's
No,
gonna get
because you could see Dogman. Dogman was the only one who was behind him. You could see him, and I
only
think
when they went to
Dogman-
the side angle. Let's be honest. Pine was
No,
like,
it was the
such a
you're thinking
bro.
of you're okay, so the first time Pine was up, he was on the right-hand side of the stage and the camera just must have been set differently because it was his whole head. And then the next time the next match that he was in, he was on the left side of the stage, and like you could see behind him because you saw Dogman just sitting there, and like Dogman would come up and pat him on the back every time he did something good. Like
Jonak's
Dogman
facial
saw that he
expressions,
didn't have
though.
a
Come on.
crew, so he went to
Yeah.
cheer Pine, which I think that's such a pro move. I'd like
Listen.
awesome for Dogman. But
Dude,
what's up with
Dogman's a
NYXL?
nice
Do they
dude.
not like Pine or something?
No, I
think
just
they were
think
giving
the
him
other
shit.
people were the
Yeah, they're probably
underdogs.
just giving him
I think
shit.
the other people were the underdogs, right? Like
Oh yeah.
Jonak was definitely the underdog, so they're like, we'll root for Jonak.
Nene's
Nene
the new
was
guy.
the underdog because Pine is a more proven widow than Nene, right? They're like, there's no way. And then I'm sure they felt kind of bad when Nene won, and they're like, oh shit.
Dude,
It was a super close
But-
one.
I will say the only person that looked pissed when they lost was Carpe. Carpe did not look happy about that.
No, he wanted to get to the final with his friend DM, dude. He couldn't make
Right.
it. Too much
Dude,
competition.
I feel like Carpe's just been having a tough season overall, man. If you see some shots like
too much
headshots
too
of
much
him,
Zarya.
yeah, he looks burnt.
Yeah,
And they're playing half the games they played last year, so he just looks like he's going through some stuff.
yeah, it's kind of
Talking about
oh, what's up?
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah, Carpe doesn't seem very happy in Zarya jail.
Carpe's never looked happy though. Even when Carpe was playing Widow,
That is true. That is totally
clicking
true. Yeah,
heads,
gotta
he
give
was
it to
not
you.
a happy camper. So like, let's be clear here.
He was like,
It's
I should
not
have
like he
clicked
was-
more heads.
It's not like he was
Kinda-
Bumper
Well,
and is
no.
now Carpeville, right? Like, no, it's
He's not a
always
huge
been how.
personality, but when he popped off, like especially like late season when they were trying to get into the playoffs.
You
and
saw him
everything,
smile?
yeah. Well, you could see
You can
Everybody's
see.
How do I
smiles when they
explain it?
pop
How do I
out.
explain it? Like, it's a
Little
slight
smirk.
body
you
language.
imagined him smiling. Yes, I see it. Yes,
I felt
understand.
it for him. I felt it
Yes.
for him when they made
You
that.
were smiling so large that Carpe
I know.
was actually smiling in your head.
Smiling for two people, right?
Yeah.
Oh man. But
I
yeah,
was gonna
so
say though, aside from like the watching the players' emotions and all that, it was cool watching the different styles of Widow because this time you had like some tank players, you had some support players, and like your usual actual Widowmaker mains, and everybody played a little bit differently, right? Like I thought it was super interesting watching Jonak, for example, from like his perspective, because you can actually physically tell how low the sensitivity that man plays with compared like some of the other people. Like his Widowmaker moving was like so like moving at stone, right? Like his cursor was like heavy, while all the other ones were like much more snappy. But he's used to that, right? And like he's known for playing in a super low sense. But it was interesting watching like that happen in game. And then watching somebody, we'll get into it, but somebody like Bren compared to somebody who's actually been practiced at the game, you can see like so many little details that these players are so practiced at that like somebody who has not put in the time is like the complete opposite, right? And it's super noticeable when you're in that like closed control environment where you just have two people and you can very clearly and distinctly like see their styles. I thought that part was really cool too.
And you mentioned something that wasn't available before was like you could get the matchups, but you could actually do command center on this one, couldn't you? Like to just watch one person all the time, I believe.
You know,
I'm
I
not
didn't
sure.
check.
I didn't try it.
I
Yeah,
totally
I
didn't
that,
try
but
this
that would
time.
have been.
was
I'm
wondering
sure
if
you
super
could.
cool.
I'm sure you
Yeah.
could because they offered it for free
Yeah,
for the All-Star weekend. So I'm sure you had that capability.
exactly. And I think that's kind of a cool aspect as well.
Damn,
to
I'm
be able
kind
to
of
be
pissed
involved
that
the
I
whole time.
didn't think
I
about
know,
that
right?
at the time.
I
Oh my
mean,
gosh.
it wasn't too hard to see their perspective because
Well,
there was
no,
never
because
third
you only have two.
person,
Yeah,
right?
you only have two
Yeah.
characters. But if you
Yeah.
wanted to, like you said, look at Jonak the whole time to see what makes
Right.
makes that sensitivity.
Listen,
because the
I
sensitivity
can watch
discussion is
Jonak
all the.
all day, and I'm still not going to be a better Zenyatta or Widow.
It's a beautiful thing to watch though, because for some
It
reason
is.
it looks like he's just doing what we do, but there's always a ding noise.
But it's better somehow. I don't understand. I will say, watching Jonak's emotion behind the camera when he was watching Nene, it was like the most glorious thing I've ever seen because Jonak's facial expressions, literally every time Nene or Pine or Diem got a shot, it was like this, like,
Yeah, I was thoroughly impressed.
like, yeah, like, but shocked. Like, what was that? Like, oh my gosh, it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. I
To
absolutely
be fair,
loved it.
some of those shots were like very awe-inducing.
yeah.
Like I was like,
I
wait,
mean, I
what?
was
You
doing the
saw
same
that?
thing. Right, like I was doing the same facial expression. I was just surprised that he was also doing the facial expression. But I think overall, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but overall, the All-Star games, the players this year compared to last year seem to be having 1,000 times more fun
Oh,
this
for
year
sure.
than they
For
did last
sure.
year. And
Yeah,
why do you
having
think that
their crew
is? What do you
there.
think they
Like, having their
changed?
crew there.
Mid-season. Like,
But it was like the
season
other
was
games,
over
they seem to
before.
have fun too. Yeah.
Like mid-season, things could still happen. The season was over before, and kind of like, it's kind of like their last time on stage for a long time. That's just my personal thought.
I also think it's the fact that they did everything that isn't in the meta right now. And people just enjoyed playing that on stage, right? Like
Those are exciting.
last year, everybody had been playing Widow every game, right? And so it was like, okay, another like Widow 1v1, whatever, right? Like I've been playing Widow all season. But this year, very minimal Widow, right?
Yeah.
And so
Almost
they
none.
enjoyed doing that, right? Same with like the sibling rivalry, healers never die, keeping the peace, thanks but no tanks, right? Like all of that was all things that like they hadn't really gotten to play.
Yeah.
And in a like fun kind of controlled competitive environment.
Well, and
kind of
and talking about that, like we can like talk about the 4 specialty games they played. This was kind of like really the part that I really like didn't enjoy this very much. Like the arcade, the only thing that I enjoyed was Neko on King's Row, sleeping Sinatra. It was 8 or 9 times in a row. Sinatra's trying to play Doomfist, and all Neko wanted to do was just sleep him. And they would sleep him and just teabag him and then run off.
Yes,
Oh my God. It was
Tactical
hilarious.
crouching, Bob.
Tactical crouching.
Tactical
Yeah.
crouching. Shout out to Tactical Crouch Podcast who made that happen. No, I'm just kidding. But like
Brought to you
that
by-
was really funny. But besides that, at the Atlantic Division just like trounced the Pacific Division. And I will say the Pacific Division made weird choices, like the all DPS match, the thanks but no tanks. They played all tanks. All Overwatch League tanks played in the DPS only match, and Atlantic actually played like more of a, they had some tanks, but they had like, I think it was at least 2 DPS in, just as a fail safe. But the playing of the different players was a little weird for me on these. But what did you guys think?
Pacific went in for fun. Atlantic went in for try hard, and Atlantic their try
I don't think
hard
either of them
mode-
went in for try hard. I don't think that that is
Listen.
nothing you could say.
Atlantic at one point had 5 NYXL players and Profit on there. Like, do not tell me that was not part of your strategy.
That was
Atlantic.
Dorado. Yep.
Yeah, like what was that one? The keeping the peace? Or no? I forget which one
No,
it
that was. I think that was
They all
Healers
blend
Never
together.
Die. Yeah, I think
Right.
that was Healers. Was it keeping? No, it wasn't keeping
No,
the peace.
it wasn't
Keeping the peace was
Healers.
Route 666.
I think it was thanks but no tanks. But either way, here, let me tell you what my highlight of this event was for the All-Star Arcade. It was Poco coming on after he played the sibling rivalry,
Mhm.
and he was like, on Twitter, he's like, I don't know if you guys could notice, but I've never played Genji or Hanzo before. And Fusion responded, yeah, we can tell. Or like, they responded like, yeah, we noticed. It was just hilarious. I don't know.
Dude,
I
from
love
what I've
this
heard,
event.
all he does is play Diva all the time, regardless of the time of day. Like that's what he does.
Yeah.
Diva main.
Yeah, man.
I feel it.
This part was fun. I mean, it was okay, but to be
Yeah.
honest, following up the previous parts, it was more of like the winding down. I tuned down a little bit for these games. I was kind of like doing other stuff, and nothing in there like really caught my attention to where like I just wanted to watch that. So I don't know. The All Stars, to me, now that I've watched the first part of this, should be more of a fan service, fan interaction, showmanship. I don't know, like watching Bren, for example, challenge a pro
speaking
player.
of talk about that. Speaking of showmanship, Bren
Yeah,
is
like-
the king of showmanship.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, like, well, he nailed that part. Like playing his ego up, and like, he actually tried pretty hard on the Widowmaker. He trained. You know what I mean? He wasn't just like
Well, here, hold on.
talking
Preface
out of
what
his
you're
ass.
preface what you're talking about. Like the whole challenge, what led up to it.
Sure. So he pops off in the talent showdown with Widowmaker, right? His head is super big. Everyone's going crazy, like, oh my god, Brandon is actually doing really good. He gets interviewed at the end of the game, and he is like, yes, I want to take my Widowmaker to new heights. Other stuff. But after the interview,
He
I
had
guess
teams
he went
tweeting at him
backstage.
too. He had teams tweeting
Oh
at
yeah.
him.
Yeah, everyone was tweeting at him like, Brand, oh my god. But he went backstage and I guess challenged any of the pro players. It was like, anybody who wants to play against me on the big stage. Apparently everyone turned him down except Gesture, tank player of London Spitfire.
Gesture's
And
like,
that-
yes, I'll play Widow again.
I think he was he was waiting for his moment to shine. He's like, people don't know I'm actually a killer Widow. This is my time to show this.
Well, dude,
I've only had one shot.
Like, Gesture got a first pick in an actual Overwatch League game on Kings Row in the Dallas home game. So like, it wasn't against
You
Dallas,
guys-
but yeah, Gesture got it. I was like, oh my god, Gesture just like because you always start as
Yeah.
Widow and switch off. He actually got a pick.
Yeah.
You guys, the
No, he
intro
does
though, the intro of Gesture when he's about to take on Widowmaker, is like him giving an interview about why he loves Widow, and he's like, I just like the ding, ding, ding.
No, the best
I
part.
relate with that. I do love that sound. It becomes addictive.
Whoever the sound guys are, that perfect engineering there for that sound bite.
The best part is when they come out and they're talking smack to each other right before the duel that was at halftime during the actual All-Star game. Bren throws a creamer at Jester's feet, and which is crazy because Jester probably had some $250 shoes on. What if that creamer would have broke? Like, you probably would have felt pretty bad, Bren. But Jester picks up the creamer and just kind of like underhanded throws it back at Bren's chest. And I mean, I can't, you have to just go back and watch it because I cannot explain how funny it was. But just Jester's body language just cracked me up.
Dude, it was great. It was to the point. So we were at Battle in the Brew actually watching it, and people who were there for other things and just hanging out were also dying laughing and had no idea what was going on. And that's how you know it's just good interaction there. Between the two
absolutely.
people.
And Bren actually got some kills.
Oh, dude.
Bren got 2 kills, which was even more hype.
Yeah.
And he got up each time and like yelled and screamed and walked over to the other side. I mean, I felt like I was watching like something out of the FGC. It was hilarious.
You guys, I feel like afterwards, Diem should have just come on stage and killed Bryn 7 times in like 7 seconds really quickly just to like set Bryn back in his place, right? Be like, listen, Bryn, I know you think you're great, but like, for real, you went up against a main tank on Widow.
You know what? You mentioned the FGC, and that's one I forgot when we talked about like the hype men. And I remember at DreamHack, like on that side where they were playing, Soul Calibur, Tekken, everything under the sun. And when you went over there, because they were also, the main stage was like Smite and everything like that, right? So it's a completely like Smite, and you even had Hearthstone over there on the opposite side. The FGC side was like walking into a different neighborhood because everybody had a hype group. Like every game, you had one guy versus one guy, and he had 6 dudes with him, and everything was hype no matter what skill level they were. And I remember getting drawn into it and like picking favorites, and it's dude, it works. It works for some reason. It's like an animalistic thing.
Oh, for sure, for sure. The best part was also the casters casting the matchup between Jester and Brenji or Widowmaker, whatever we're calling
Was
it
it
now.
Golden Boy and Sideshow? Am I saying that right?
Golden Boy and Zoe?
I'm not sure.
I thought it was Sideshow.
I can't remember. It might have been a couple people, but they were throwing so much shade at Bren. When the game first starts, in like the first second, Bren comes out of the gate and just immediately gets shot, and he and Sight or his Golden Boys and here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the face of a man who just had reality set in or something like that. It was hilarious.
Well, the first kill, Bren makes the mistake of Widow grappling right up the middle, which is going to be the first place a Widow thinks to look quickly, and Bren gets immediately shot. And he goes, oh, and he's like, oh my God, I really might have just bit off more than I could chew. And then he gets a kill, just loses his mind, and then have to tell him to put his headset back on.
And like the one thing,
and the lonely dog man behind Brenji.
The lonely dog man.
Right? Like, he's like, you're good.
But the peeking was like,
Bren had a bunch of people behind him.
Yeah, he would constantly peak the same place. And I remember people were like, no, go left. All right, go low. All right, go high again. And he would keep peaking, and Jester would get kind of get into his rhythm and then find him out kind of thing.
Another funny thing that they did was they put stats up of all the different 1v1 Widow stuff, and they put Brendan there. Like, that was pretty, I mean, the whole production crew is just kicking ass, man.
Yeah, no, that was very cool. But now that you mentioned that, Ryan, it was really cool actually watching Bren versus Jester, because if you look at Jester, such a disciplined player, like, he's never taking risky angles. He's always aiming at the right place, right? And almost pre-preparing and aiming before
Yeah.
he even sees Bren. He's constantly listening for Bren. He's playing like a true pro, right? And his
Yeah.
aim is super steady. Just like you can definitely tell how much he's practiced.
Yeah.
He's never looking in the wrong location. And then you go to Bren, and the poor guy is just like looking everywhere. He's making a bunch of noise. He's taking super risky angles. He's just
He's, like,
like
looking behind his
popping
back and
up like
talking to people.
everywhere. Yeah.
He's like, where is he? Where is he?
And you can just see like immediately like what like some disciplined Overwatch that's been practiced
Yeah.
looks like versus like somebody that's just been practicing for a little bit.
Okay, let's be legit though. Like, I'm pretty sure they both were like 3 feet away from each other and each missed like 27 shots for a good
Oh,
like
that
minute.
fight right there.
Like,
That was hype, man. The crowd
like,
like zoom
I
in
was
and
like,
turn
what is
around.
happening? Somebody hit a shot.
I
The
love those
nerves
close
get
quarter
high,
fights.
dude. When you're in those duels, like your heart
Yeah.
rate starts going up, and especially if you're in that situation, like sometimes that's pretty common.
It's like a game of chicken.
Well, I think in like that close quarters too, right? Like Widow's not great
Mhm.
from
It's
like
too hard to predict. Yeah.
close
Yeah.
range, right? So I don't know. It was
Well,
hilarious. I thought it was great.
And Bren said that he was more nervous than he was for the finals in New York. And I just thought to myself, well, it's probably because something's on the line. I'm sure Bren was happy getting two kills. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
you don't want to like completely have a horrible showing, but like
He's like,
if
just
you're
let me in on a
casting
high,
and
right?
you're analyzing, like if you mess it up, you mess it up. But like it's not like where the game's on the line, your heart's
Yeah.
pumping and you're trying to win, and it's probably a really cool experience for him.
Let's
Yeah,
talk about Gesture and his like showmanship though, just for
Yeah.
2 seconds. Because like
No
I
problem.
love Gesture. He's been like he's like emerged into this glorious, like
It's comfortable.
fun human being, right? Like
He's
at the
always been
Dallas home
funny
game.
though.
Okay. But they never capitalized on it, right? Like I feel like at the Dallas home game, he's like dancing when all the lights are turned off, because we're all sitting there like waiting for everything to come back up. And they play music and Gesture's like the only one that's like getting up and dancing like
Yeah.
hardcore. And then
Well,
like
Bird
now like the
Ring followed
walkouts,
in
he's
with
like,
him.
yeah, but Gesture was like all in. Bird Ring was like, like the head nod, bob, like kind of thing. Yeah, not really all in. But like now you see it in like
Yeah.
the walkouts, like he's like really like pulling it out. I don't know. I love it. I love Gesture. Right
Yeah,
now.
I just love Gesture when season 1,
Yeah.
stage 1 finals in the press conference.
Mhm.
It was like Houston. The press conference before said it was NYXL said they were gonna. Sabiobi said they were gonna whoop their butts, London's, and then someone asked Gesture. They said, "Hey, they said they were gonna whoop your butts," and Gesture got translated, and then he thought to himself, and he answered, "We're gonna whoop their butts instead." Like
I don't know. I'm more impressed with London's answer of like, well, I hope we win so we don't have to play so many games. Like the total London answer, right? Like that is London to a T. Like, hey, what do we have to do to not do as much later? Like, let's
Do
figure
you all
that
think
out.
that players overall are just more comfortable now in the environment?
probably
In that
players that
environment,
were
I would
there.
think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
less on the line,
Less
and
nerves. Yeah. Well, I just
Yeah.
mean in general from like last year.
Much
right?
more
Like, as far as
relaxed.
the personalities
there's a
coming
lot
out,
of
as
new
far as being
players.
friends, but even so, right? You have an established,
Yeah.
like, oh, we've been here, we've been in this arena a billion times to play a billion games. We know the casters, we know the people. Everybody's here for the same reason to make this fun. And I think that's kind of coming out more, and you're getting to see more of the personalities, especially from the foreign players, because like they're not from here, right? So that there's a lot of like, how do you behave in a public eye that's so important, that's blowing up.
There's
Yeah,
also not
kinda-
as much pressure of like making sure
Yeah.
the league works,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So
Yeah,
like
that's the other
last year,
part.
I think
That's
it was a lot of like, this has got to be successful
Mhm.
and we've got to make it good, right?
Yeah,
And
makes
this year, I think people are realizing like, okay, this is going to be successful. It is good. Now I think they've realized that being a personality is good too.
that makes sense.
Yep. But All in all, I think the All-Star game was a success. So
Yeah.
we're going to move to close out unless anybody has any final thoughts.
No, I
It was
think that was a
fun.
pretty good discussion. I enjoyed it. It was
Yeah.
fun. I look forward for the next one. I hope there's more fan engagement. I think that doing things like the Brent thing would be awesome moving forward. And they could even do it with fans, right? Like, could they have
Mhm.
like a fan challenge where like they bring like some fans to play a Widowmaker duel? Maybe some people that are good on the ladder, right? That want to test their skills versus a real pro.
Mhm.
And like, who cares if the pro loses, right? It's all in fun. Or at least you get to see that. Or what if they bring a tank player and it's like, okay, two tank players that have never played in the league get to play with the pros, and like that would have made it like I think more interesting to watch the Atlantic versus Pacific showdown if they had had some sort of feature like that, and the fans would be a little bit more engaged. You could bring like a personality, right? It doesn't have to be a fan, but like an actor or
Or a
a
streamer.
music, yeah, or a
Yeah.
streamer,
Yeah.
yeah, something like that. You know what I mean? That is just fun.
Right, I
XQC
agree
back
with
on
that.
stage.
Oh, God.
DeFran coming to you live
Oh my
from
gosh.
Twitch Prime.
Oh. I think though, like I think you're on the right track there. I think they should look at doing like smaller tournaments like throughout the first two stages to get people entered into the possibility of being in the All-Star weekend, right? Like whether it's somebody who won the Widow 1v1 off like the ladder or versus everybody
That's a
else,
cool
right?
idea.
Like they get
Yeah.
like they're in, right? Like I don't think it'd be fun to watch like a total fan based like 1v1 Widow tournament. Like
No.
no thanks. But having like one person get their invite in,
yeah, one invite open to the public through the ladder or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that would be really cool.
That'll be
Yeah,
that'd be pretty
and same
cool.
with like the Atlantic versus Pacific All-Star game because like to be honest, that's the least exciting part of the weekend. Like even the All-Star Arcade was better than the All-Star game,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Like the All Star game wasn't bad. It just didn't have anything that really jumped out at it. That was my only take, right? It was just like watching a half-ass
Ramen.
competitive game, right? Like
Yeah.
because nobody was trying too hard. Compositions were
Yeah.
kind of like for funsies. So it was cool watching them play against each other, but like nothing there was like truly that meaningful, right? Like I wasn't like,
Yeah.
oh my god, who's gonna win? I was like, okay,
I'll
yeah,
tell
somebody's
you-
gonna
Right.
win.
I'll tell you exactly what it was. It was quick play.
Yeah, it was quick play with pros.
So
Right.
maybe people that we enjoy comp a ton, but like right into us. Like maybe people who enjoy more quick play than they do comp really enjoyed that game. We would love to know. And if you want to write into us, you can do it on Twitter at @AlRecap, or you can send your emails to contact@alrecap.com. You can also join our Discord where we have spots for questions there. It's discord.me/OmnicLab. iPlay, why don't you tell them about OmnicLab game night coming up?
Yes, in about 2 weeks, the last Friday of this month, the 31st, we'll be hosting our game night. Awesome place to come hang out. Everybody there is forming teams. We got team captains. Everybody gets to play. If you've never been to a game night, it's a great place to find a community, find some friends to play along together. And it's very inclusive, people of all ranks, and you get to play with us as well. So if you want to hang out for a little bit for a night, come join us. It's super, super fun. We've been doing it. I think this is like the 12th or 13th game night. So
Guys,
we've been
got to
doing
be
it for a
more than
while.
that.
Yeah, that's over a year that we've been doing these. So yeah, super awesome time. Last Friday of the month around 8 p.m. Eastern is the time you want to be aiming for, but we go all night. So if you're in a different time zone, don't feel excluded.
Yeah, it is always a good time. Now, I want to let you guys know where you can find us. You can find us on pretty much any podcast platform there is. We're not on SoundCloud, but SoundCloud sucks, so it's no biggie.
Hey, we're on
Straight on
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud over here.
Hold on.
How
Sorry.
rude.
So SoundCloud is a hosting platform where they won't let us be on them unless we pay for their hosting. And so we're on Libsyn. So we're on the regular catchers, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, all of those. You can find us on any of them by searching Al Recap. You could probably just search Overwatch League, and you're gonna find us in the top 3. You can also catch us live every week on twitch.tv/Al Recap, and we usually do it Mondays at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Pacific. But we'd love to have more people come and interact with chat. So please give us a join. Come hang out. Talk with us in chat. And also, we are also on YouTube, youtube.com/Al Recap. We just recently had our first 1,000 view video, which was a little weird. I'm pretty sure it's because we had Frito on, and we probably just auto played at the end of one of his videos, is my guess. But either way, we saw some growth, and we really appreciate it. We would love for you guys to come check us out there. Last, how can you help the show? You can help the show by listening to the show, telling your friends about the show, posting it on Reddit, which people are doing now, so thank you. You can go one step further and leave us a review on iTunes, or Stitcher, I think, has reviews also. We do read those on the show. If you want to support us further, you can become a supporter of the show on patreon.com/Al Recap. $1 an episode can change these podcasters' lives. All right, guys. I think that's it. Mel, where can we find you?
Well, I feel like after that line, you should find me with like a fly on my face that won't fly away and like, give me money type of thing. No, I'm just kidding. You can find me on Twitter at MelOverwatch.
And I play. What about you?
You can find me on Twitter at I Play Games. You spell that IPLAI Games.
And what about you, Mr. Ryan?
Twitter also. Twitter is king. I'm at Podcast TBW.
Nice. And you could always find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. That's going to end it out tonight. Thank you guys so much, and we'll catch you next time.